Very good introduction to the bill from John Stevenson. My task this afternoon is to try and take this a little bit further and look at the likely effect on communities and parishes. According to the various documents, and I have to confess, I think John says the bill is about this thick, I haven't read the entire bill, there are 6 essential actions that should be taken in order to deliver decentralisation down through every level of government. These are: 1. Lift the burden of bureaucracy by removing the cost and control of unnecessary red tape and regulation. Empower communities to do things their way by creating the rights for people to get involved with and direct development of their communities. 3. Increase local control over public finance so that more of the decisions on how public money is spent and raised can be taken within communities. 4. Diversify the supply of public services. 5. Open up government to public scrutiny. And 6. Strengthen accountability to local people by giving every citizen the power to change the services provided to them through participation, choice, or the ballot box. As John has said, right at the top of the list of items in this bill, which will be of interest to parish councils, is the general power of competence. Under this power, local authorities will be able to do anything which an individual is able to do, as long as it's legal, instead of being limited to what Parliament has expressly authorised. In other words, the restrictions on parish councils will be far, far less than they are at present. Initially, the power will be limited to parish councils that meet certain minimum standards, and these are still being defined, and they may well include quality of parish status. Here are some key facts about this power, the general power of competence. The general power of competence for local authorities is a flagship measure in the Localism bill. The commitment to introduce such a power being part of the coalition agreement, so it goes right to the heart of government. The central power of competence commits to a fundamental shift of power from Westminster to people, giving new powers to local authorities. This will give them real freedom to act in the interest of both their local communities and in their own interest to generate efficiencies and savings, but with the proper safeguards. It will replace the current power of well-being. This new power of competence, is designed to allow local authorities to act innovatively without being found by the courts to have acted ultra-vires. Local authorities will not be able to overcome statutory limitations or restrictions, and powers to tax, precept, and borrow will remain governed by existing regimes. There won't be any changes. There will be a reserve power of the Secretary of State to prevent authorities relying on the power in specified circumstances. This will prevent parish councils doing things which might be construed as illegal or against the interests of the community. Possibly the most important aspect of the bill for parishes is the emphasis that it puts on neighbourhood planning. Parish councils can use the bill's provisions to promote their own neighbourhood plan. The part of the plan containing planning policies is known in the bill as the Neighbourhood Development Plan. The part that grants planning permission is known as the Neighbourhood Development Order. They will have to pass certain conditions to be adopted by the local authority, and these include those set out in the bill. For example, appropriate relationship with local and national policy and various other legal obligations. There may also be a requirement to ensure plans are in an appropriate format, given that there's significant power to guide the planning and development of the neighbourhood, but this will be as light a touch as possible. Planning is vital to underpinning the economic growth through its role in coordinating investment and providing certainty. The planning system, some might say, has failed to deliver, particularly in house building, which is at its lowest level for a long, long time. The bill's planning reforms will lift the burden of centralised controls and give neighbourhoods and local areas the flexibility to innovate, be creative, and control their own futures. Reforms will decentralise decision-making and remove barriers to locally supported development, encouraging communities to accept more development in a manner that they can control. Neighbourhood planning is at the forefront of the decentralisation, localism and big society agenda. It will provide people with the opportunity to get involved, to take control of shaping the places they live in, and to make a real difference to the quality of their local area. The extra control given to neighbourhoods and to local authorities in the planning and development of their areas will see them becoming proponents of growth, particularly when allied with incentives that they will ensure a greater proportion of the benefits of growth. The planning reforms put parish councils and the communities they represent firmly in the driving seat. However, the testing process of the community plan will be more rigorous and its status will be much greater than a parish plan. The plan will have to show that a cross-section of the community has been involved in its production. The Localism Bill proposes a number of new powers to local authorities, including parish councils. The first of these is the community right to challenge. It's an important part of the plan to shift power from Whitehall to councils and beyond to the citizens that they represent. Voluntary and community bodies, charities, local enterprises, co-ops, etc. are already successfully running local services, including in education, tackling worklessness, the environment, and in social care. This right will hand the initiative to communities and the bodies that represent them, such as parish councils, with innovative ideas about how services can be shaped to better suit their needs or run more cost effectively. Ensure these ideas get a fair hearing and give them the time they need to organise themselves and develop their ideas to be able to bid to run the service. Parish councils will have the right to challenge to run local authority service, alongside the voluntary organisations and local authority employees delivering the service. They will not need to consider expressions of interest in running their own service. A second right proposed by the bill is the community right to build. The government wants to give communities the power to bring forward community-led development which will provide direct local benefits without having to submit a traditional planning application. The Localism Bill provides the detailed proposals about how it is proposed to achieve this. Maybe Chris will have something to say about that afterwards. Alongside the community right to build, the government has been developing its proposals for neighbourhood planning. The Localism Bill now integrates the two proposals into a common framework. The community right to build measure will give local communities the power to take forward the development that they want, be it homes, shops, businesses, or facilities, or even perhaps car parks, and I say that, with the minimum amount of red tape, and subject to the proposals being sustainable and having the agreement of local people through a community referendum. The form of development and the type of tenure of any housing would be for communities themselves to decide. But the benefits would need to be retained for the community, managed by a corporate body formed by members of the local community. It will be for communities to identify suitable land, sources of finance, and secure support for their proposals. But there will be arrangements to provide help and guidance. Not everyone is confident that this right will bring the result that the bill envisages. Some believe that it could be an indie charter, or that it will result in very bland designs. We will have to wait and see. A third right proposed by the bill is the community right to buy. The coalition agreement committed to giving communities new powers to help them save local facilities threatened with closure. There are provisions in the Localism Bill to give effect to this commitment. As part of the government's determination to shift power to local neighbourhoods, the community right to buy will ensure that community organisations have a fair chance to bid to take over assets and facilities that are important to them. These facilities could include their village shop, or the last remaining pub in the village, the community centre, children's centre, or library, or a redundant church or derelict site, could be put to good use as a community hub for their neighbourhood. This builds on the continuing local authority asset transfer activity by extending the scope to private as well as public assets and giving communities the initiative to identify assets of community value and the time to prepare to bid for them on the open market. The government recognises that the preservation of local services such as a post office or a hospital in a larger community will not just relate to the building and wider public service or contractual considerations will need to be addressed in such cases. In the case of local authority services such as children's centres or libraries, the prospect of a continuing income stream to support a service may be important to the viability of an asset. So it won't necessarily be ultra-virus for a parish council to see an income stream as a major part of the facility that they want to develop. Parish councils already have a range of duties and powers which are not available to all community groups. The main source of a parish council's income is its precept from the relevant billing authority, and the level of precept is at the discretion of the parish. Parish councils have few statutory duties to provide services. One of the few they have is to provide allotment gardens, but they do have a wide range of powers, ranging from being able to provide public amenities, to bus shelters, to providing community centres, and installing and maintaining equipment, for example, for crime prevention. Parish councils can also contribute toward the cost of provision of facilities by others, and they have specific rights to receive information from and represent community interests to other authorities. For instance, they have the right to be informed about planning applications in their area. Parish councils also have a discretionary power which will enable them to combat environmental crime, such as issuing fixed penalty fines for litter, graffiti, flag posting, and dog offences. We're all familiar with those. And since the 31st of December 2008, the power to promote the well-being of an area has been available to eligible parish and town councils. And this will be replaced by provisions in this bill. Parish councils have been major players in the development and refinement of community-led planning over many years. To date, more than 4,000 communities in England have participated in community-led planning as a means of delivering a vision for their own future. The mention of community-led planning brings me full circle. And this is the underlying requirement of the Localism bill. Many parishes in this part of Cumbria have already produced a parish plan, and some have even completed the design stage, which may have been adopted by the local planning authority. The bill makes it clear that if community groups are to take advantage of the provisions of the full Decentralisation and Localism Act when it becomes an act, then they will need to have a properly constructed community-led plan. Reference to the website of Action with Communities in Rural England will see that these plans are defined as follows. Community-led planning is a step-by-step process that enables every citizen to participate in and contribute to improving the social, economic, environmental and cultural well-being of their area. It represents an unparalleled opportunity for people to take responsibility for making things happen locally, rather than waiting on others to do it for them. This unique approach to community empowerment has been developed and refined in rural areas since the late 1970s, largely as a response to the gradual withdrawal of public sector services and the increasing need for communities to look after their own affairs. One of the defining characteristics of all community-led plans is they are not imposed from above, but instead initiated and led by local volunteers who steer their community through a step-by-step process. Parish, district and county councils have a charter which requires that they work in close cooperation. The Localism Bill has far-reaching implications for both the county and district councils. We now have an opportunity to hear from Carlisle's planning manager, Chris Harden, as how he sees the localism bill affecting Carlisle